Over the years, the any% speedrun for The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask has evolved quite a lot. Yet, as the run gradually changed, the more things stayed the same. In spite of each new major glitch, sequence break, and skip discovered, the speedrun still required beating all 4 dungeons, until 2019, when speedrunners found a way to skip them all. Initially, it was by obtaining all the boss remains and the oath to order via the debug menu by using a text overflow glitch, and then later that year, warping straight to the moon using the recently discovered stale reference manipulation glitch, or SRM for short. In 2020, SRM was used to perform arbitrary code execution, or ACE, to warp straight to the credits. In the span of just over 1 year, the any% world record dropped from 1 hour 15 minutes to just under 25 minutes. And it didn't seem like it could possibly go any lower. And there's a pretty good reason for that assumption. Let me introduce you to the biggest bottleneck in Majora's Mask speedrunning: the first cycle. In Majora's Mask, the game operates within a 72-hour time loop, beginning with the first day at 6 AM and ending 3 days later when the moon crashes into the Earth, destroying Clocktown in the land of Termina. Time is able to be reset to the dawn of the first day by playing the Song of Time with your ocarina, where you get to keep any previous key items and upgrades from the previous cycle. When you first arrive in Clocktown, Link has been cursed into a Deku Scrub form by Skull Kid, and your main objective then is to retrieve your stolen ocarina and turn back into your human form. This is accomplished by obtaining magic from the Great Fairy in North Clocktown, which allows Deku Link to shoot magic snot bubbles, and then waiting until midnight on the third and final day of the cycle for the top of the clock tower to open, where Link confronts Skull Kid to get his ocarina back and to reset time. In a casual playthrough, you need to do a bit of a trade quest in order to reach the top of the clock tower, but speedrunners skip this with a trick known as a gainer, which allows the vertically challenged Deku Link to grab on ledges higher than he could reach normally. Furthermore, the first cycle is accelerated by listening to the 4 Giants story twice from Grandma in the Stockpot Inn to skip straight to the final day, and then by dancing with Pierre the Scarecrow in the Trading Post in West Clocktown to skip ahead to nighttime. From there, runners usually obtain magic and collect rupees before heading to the clock tower before midnight. After getting back the ocarina and resetting time, the first cycle ends, and upon returning to the Happy Mask Salesman, Link learns the Song of Healing and transforms back into a human, now with the ability to transform freely between forms at will. This happens around the 20-minute mark of the speedrun, and there really isn't a way to reach this point any quicker. Disregarding some minor optimizations, the first cycle route has generally remained the same for the past 13 years. In any%, 100%, all masks, glitchless, and even tool-assisted speedruns. Naturally, speedrunners wanted to find a way to skip the first cycle, as it was essentially a glorified 20-minute auto-scroller. To do this, you would need to find some way to transform into a human early, but how do you transform back into a human without being able to take off the Deku mask? You can put on a different mask, of course. Unfortunately, the developers did their damnedest to make obtaining any of the game's 24 masks impossible in the first cycle, because Deku Link is so incredibly weak. He's short, he's light, and he has no might. He can blow snot, the bomb bag can be bought, but he can't even carry a pot. Sure, with a backwalk, he can escape the town, but in that form, he's nothing but a clown. Because of Deku Link's pathetic limitations, first cycle skip appeared to be nothing but a pipe dream. But then, a major discovery would change everything. In October 2019, prominent glitch hunter, Glitches and Stuff, discovered SRM and Ocarina of Time while messing around with a boomerang in the Forest Temple. And this glitch would flip both Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask completely upside down. And here's how. When Link carries an object in the game, known as an actor, with his hands, he's not actually holding onto it. Rather, the position and rotational data from Link is copied onto the actor he has a reference to, known in programming as a pointer. This also applies to something like a boomerang, which can also carry actors by copying its positional data to the actor it's attached to. This all works fine and dandy, but what if the actor just disappeared, and that the pointer was just still there? You'd get a dangling pointer effect, known in this context as a stale reference. This means that within this open space in memory where the actor used to be, something else in memory can load in its place, meaning that the position and rotation data from Link can overwrite some other attribute of the new actor. This can be something as trivial as the position of a door to something more useful, such as editing the contents of a treasure chest to give you whatever you want, or editing the location a grotto takes you or wherever getting caught by a specific Deku Palace guard takes you. There are also some more powerful applications of SRM other than simply editing actor variables. You can also use SRM to change the function of other actors by manipulating the pointer from an actor to its overlay file to instead point to some other existing code in memory. For example, changing the function of a butterfly to give you items based on the position of a Bombchu on screen. This is known as function pointer manipulation. The only application of SRM more powerful than that is arbitrary code execution, or ACE, the most powerful glitch a game can have. Here, the pointer from an actor is modified to point to custom code written by the player, which includes stuff such as the save file name and the controller inputs. Under certain circumstances, this allows you to do basically anything you want. And in the old Majora's Mask any % route, ACE was used to warp straight to the credits when the Song of Time is played on the ocarina. There are a few methods of performing SRM, including using a boomerang to carry an actor and entering a new room while the camera is turned away, super sliding away from a grabbable actor and delaying its pickup through a loading plane with an inverted camera angle, or by having an explosive detonate in Link's hands while he's frozen, but also while other actors are still actively updating in memory. While these methods had their differences, they all had one thing in common. Deku Link just can't do any of them. The only boomerangs in Majora's Mask are the Zora fins, and Deku Link can't carry any object, let alone use a bomb. This was frustrating. Here you had this all-powerful glitch that allows you to get any item you want, warp straight to the moon, and even warp straight to the credits. Yet in order to perform SRM, you need to get through the same unskippable 20-minute beginning before you can finally become human again, and you're able to perform SRM in the second cycle. This was the terrible fate of Majora's Mask any %. That is, until November 4th, 2021, when the glitch hunter, Turkenheimer, made a big discovery. He uploaded a video titled, "SRM in First Cycle is Possible," and the key all along was Deku Link's snot bubbles. Let's go back to the methods of SRM I mentioned earlier. While the fact still stands that these methods do not work in First Cycle, what Turk found was very similar to having an explosive blow up in Link's hands while frozen as a new actor loads into memory, except replace the explosive with the Deku bubble. When Deku Link charges a bubble, it grows into its largest size, and an invisible timer will begin to run. And when it runs out, the bubble pops, and disappears along with the pointer that copies position and rotation values from Link to the bubble. Except when he's frozen. During the hide-and-seek game with the Bomber Kids, Link will freeze in place, along with other actors in the area when he catches one of the bombers. This means that while the bubble will pop, that means if he catches a bomber while he's blowing a bubble, and that the bubble pops while he's frozen, the pointer will still remain active while the text box is up, and for 3 frames after the text box is closed. In this proof of concept, Turk hypothesized that by popping the blue Majora balloon with a bubble on the same frame as catching one of the Bomber Kids while charging a bubble, a specific function of the smoke particle effect that spawns after the balloon explodes will load into the empty space memory left behind by the bubble. The proof of concept was certainly there, but the hard part would be creating a consistent setup. When performing SRM, speedrunners will perform seemingly random actions. This is known as heap manipulation, as it's done to ensure that the correct actor is loaded into the vacant slot in memory where the cold actor was. There are many locations in Majora's Mask that are ideal for heap manipulation, such as the Graveyard, Deku Palace Gardens, and the Astral Observatory, as they have multiple loading planes within that load and unload actors when crossed. In the first cycle, the only realistic places for SRM are within Clocktown, and none of these areas have such transitions. Viable heap manips were not only going to be difficult to execute, but their potential became incredibly limited. Regardless, Turk worked hard for the next few weeks, along with the help of MrCheeze, in order to find a useful setup. Sure enough, on November 17th, the pipe dream had finally become reality. Turkenheimer would release a new video titled Human in First Cycle, which showed a setup to obtain a transformation mask to turn into a human without the need for the ocarina. The Holy Grail of Majora's Mask was finally here. The very next day, speedrunner JakeZSR would set a new any percent world record using the first cycle skip. But before I get too ahead of myself, I should probably explain how this all works. The run begins on the North American Wii Virtual Console release by writing an 8-character long file name. The first 5 characters can be whatever, but the last 3 characters must be FPR, and it's case sensitive too. The beginning of the run starts off mostly the same as old any percent with some minor differences, such as opening this chest for Deku Nuts and getting the Stray Fairy right away. The route deviates further when Link reaches Grandma in the Stockpot Inn. Here, you listen to the Carnival of Time story 4 times instead of the 4 giants twice. This skips the in-game time a few hours before 4 PM on the first day. Then, Deku Link heads straight to North Clocktown and returns the Stray Fairy obtained earlier to obtain magic and bubbles. Next, he pops the balloon and activates the hide-and-seek game with the bombers. Afterwards, he heads to the corner outside of the Deku Scrub Playground Grotto until it becomes nighttime. After this transition, the heat manip is performed, and the runner performs a precise setup in order to pop the balloon on the same frame as Link catches the bomber, all while blowing a bubble and having Link skewed at a specific X, Y, and Z rotation angle. If done correctly, the smoke actor from the balloon popping will load into memory where the bubble was, and Link will write his X, Y, and Z rotation values over the destroy function of the smoke, allowing for a mild instance of arbitrary code execution. Specifically, the overwriting of the destroy function with Link's rotational data will instruct the game to corrupt the menu cursor in the pause menu to be in a row in memory where it shouldn't be. This displacement allows you to scroll up to different rows in memory. In this instance, you can scroll up to the file name. When you reach the row with the file name, you can equip the values of the characters that you entered in your file name as items on your C buttons. Remember FPR? Those 3 characters allow the character to equip the Hookshot, the Goron Mask, and the Fierce Deity Mask. After exiting the menu, the game will return to normal procedure. The Goron Mask will allow Link to transform into a Goron and then into a human and vice versa. For now, the Goron Mask is kept on as Goron rolling is the fastest form of movement available. Goron Link then rolls to the trading post in West Clocktown to dance with the Scarecrow to advance to dawn of the second day. This is important as the next stop is the Woods of Mystery in Southern Swamp, where the layout for the maze changes depending on the in-game day. The second day layout is the one that's best for performing the heat manipulation for the Moon Warp. Here, Link transforms back into human and quick draws the Hookshot, which is only really important for the heat manip as an actor loaded in memory. Afterwards, Link will super slide off of this snapper while picking up a bush with an inverted camera angle, allowing for the bush to cull. The SRM then begins by dropping the unloaded bush in a specific position to modify this grotto to warp Link straight to the Majora fight on the moon, where Fierce Deity Link can quickly defeat her. Using this route, on November 18th, 2021, JakeZSR would be the first person to complete a run with first cycle skip with a new world record of 24 minutes and 14 seconds. Over the next couple months, Jake would be the first to beat Majora's Mask in under 20 minutes on November 22nd, all while trading the any percent record with runners such as Turk, Moose 1204, Pope Squidward, and Ragan. As of writing this script, the any percent record is currently held by Jake with an 1834. With the power of first cycle skip, you may wonder, how much time does this save in other categories? And the answer is 0. Because Ace is banned in every other main leaderboard category, other than any percent unrestricted. This is justified, as Ace is such a powerful glitch that if other categories would allow it, well, the challenges presented in these categories such as 100% can easily be trivialized. And unfortunately, the only method of first cycle skip known to be possible currently requires Ace. Finding a non-Ace method would be difficult to implement as well, since the categories that allow SRM ban function pointer manipulation. And there is no current way to skip the first cycle with only the weaker forms of SRM, meaning that the first cycle skip outside of any percent remains an unsolved mystery. Regardless, it's still amazing that after all these years of holy grails such as Moonwarp and first cycle skip being a total meme, that they're actually real. And it's all thanks to the ingenuity and great minds of these glitch hunters. Special thanks to MrCheeze for answering any questions I had regarding first cycle skip, and for JakeZSR for giving me permission to use footage from his any percent records. Go check him out! I've also left some cool videos and explanations in the description below if you're interested in learning more. Thank you so much for watching, and remember to shoot for the moon.